Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG. I am Sovereign and today we're going to go through the Succubus, the she-devil, my most favorite ship that I have PvP'd in so far. I'm really enjoying using this ship. We're going to be doing the same as always. We're going to go through the fitting, we're going to go through what you can do with this ship, what you can't do with this ship, and there are several alterations that can be done. So after this intro, we'll start going through it.
Warp drive active.
Right, so the Succubus. Now, this is my interpretation, my fit of way I like to play. You don't always have to follow these fits. The fits are different for everyone depending on how you like to play. If you want to play with more EHP, if you want to play with more DPS. Now, this fit here is, for me personally, the best one I've used so far. Yesterday, I was tanking 2 frigates and 2 battle cruisers, killed 2 frigates and killed the 2 battle cruisers. Granted, I did need some help to break the tank of one of the battle cruisers during the fight with the Spanish Corps tried to take over. But I was out there the entire time, for a long time, being targeted. I even had webs on me, I had warp disruptors, I had newts on me, and I still survived and did quite a lot of damage. I'll put the kill mails up on the screen here somewhere so you can have a look at that. Now, if you want to see this ship in PvP, I do have a video which I'll put up in the corner over there to have a look at. Now, if you have motion sickness, because when I'm solo PvPing, I like to move the camera around a lot to make sure nothing's sneaking in from any other angles. So because it's sped up, it does spin around quite a lot. So let's get into the actual fitting of this Succubus. Now, this particular fit, I use a small shield booster. So what we have in the tops are 3 C-type small pulse lasers. You have a Centum C-type heatsink in the lows with a C-type small afterburner and a C-type small shield booster. The reason why I'm not using a medium afterburner is because I'd have to change the rigs out and fit some inertia rigs in there so you can actually keep a decent orbit without going off and shooting off like an egg in loads of different directions. But that is a viable option if you wish to do that. You could change out some of the rigs, which I'll show you later, and then fit the medium AB, fit 2 inertia rigs, and you can actually orbit really well at 3,000 meters a second, 3,500 meters a second, depending on your AB skills. Now, we have a Centum C-type small shield booster. Now, the reason why I'm using a small one is because I like to be stable in this ship. When you're going up against ships, there are people who like to use NOSes because you are close range. So when you're fighting cruisers and battle cruisers, 9 times out of 10, they will have a NOS sitting on their actual ship because it allows them to be stable in close range and you will be hit by it. You can change this out for a medium shield booster. It does work and you can be stable once you fit NOS on there. That's not an issue, and it does 20 to 25% of your shield per tick, which is really nice. But I just like the way this is set up and how it's running. So in the mid slots we have 1 stasis web of fire. Now this is for if we're fighting frigates and they're trying to orbit you at the same time, you can slow them down a bit. You have really good application on this ship. The application on this ship is insane. If you have a look at the small C-types that I have on this ship right now, the tracking speed is 384 as standard. But if we actually go into when they're applied to my ship, the tracking speed is 650. When you are fighting cruisers, when you're fighting battle cruisers, you are smashing hits, you are wrecking hits constantly. This Succubus can hit the same DPS as a cruiser with its application from the tracking. Now, if you look at the DPS, you can see that it's quite low, but when you're wrecking and smashing nearly every single hit, it is absolutely insane how much damage you can do. Now, you see the optimal range is only 6.46 kilometers with a 3.3 fall off. You want to orbit at about 5k and you can just sit there in your optimal range going 2,300, 2,400 meters a second. You can't be hit by most guns above cruiser level. The medium weapons will not be able to hit you. They will be able to hit you if you are webbed. You cannot go up against ships like the Daredevil with the web bonuses. If you have a single web on you, you're okay. And any other ship, unless it's got web strength bonuses. Now, as I said, if you have 1 web on you, you're okay. You can sit there still orbiting at 1,200, 1,300. The tracking still won't hit you unless they have tracking computers, but then they have to be fit to fight frigates themselves. You will know straight away if someone is coming in at you and they start to hit you for big DPS, you just fly straight away from them. You just turn off your weapons, fly straight away, just in case you have auto orbit on. I know some people like to use that. I don't personally most of the time. You need to get as far away from them as possible. Once you start getting your speed up again, you just get out of range. Manual fly this ship when you are fighting more than one person. Back into the fit-in, we have 2 interruptive warp disruptors. That is 4 points. That's enough to keep most people locked down. You probably won't be able to get most retrievers locked down, even though I have soloed retrievers on this actual succubus itself. 4 points is not enough to get the more experienced miners. Most people in faction ships use the warp core optimizers, and they'll put 1 in there, which is 2 points. So if you have 2 points on the ship, you can keep a hold of most faction ships, unless they are playing really safe and they have 3 warp core optimizers, which is 6 points, or even 2, which is 4, which will cancel out your warp disruptors. And let's have a look at the rigs. Now, with all of my PvP ships and all of my PvP fits, I always plug the holes that are less in your resistances. On a shield ship, you're looking at EM and thermal, so I always fit a tier 2 thermal screen and a tier 2 EM screen to plug that hole in case you go up against frigates, or you go up against ships with tracking computers that start to be able to hit frigates, or you get double webbed. It's good to have that little bit of extra EHP in there ready so you don't take as much damage. So we have 1 laser burst aerator in there to speed up the cycle of your attacks, allowing you to have a little bit more DPS. Now, this is a staple in most of my laser build fits on all of my laser ships. I always have the EM and thermal. They always get plugged, and I always have a rate of fire on there. It just ends up being a lot more in PvP rather than the alpha hits. So you can get a few hits off, 2.5 hits when you can only get 1 off. It really doesn't matter. You can change that for a damage one if you would like to do so. Now, if we look at the engineering rigs, because I wanted to keep this fit stable so I can continue to go round and round and round and round and round and can like basically AFK kill most cruisers, I have 1 capacitor control circuit 2 and 2 semiconductor 2s. Now, you can make this a little bit cheaper for yourselves because CCCs are quite expensive, but the semiconductors are catching up in price. They might have even gone overpriced by now. I haven't checked recently. And that's basically how I fit this ship. You can change out that shield booster, as I said before, for a medium shield booster. You can change the small afterburner for a medium afterburner. You can take the booster off completely and stick a medium extender on there, which is also another viable method. If you stick the medium Meta 8 shield extender on there, you're looking at an extra 5,000 shield. So you've almost got as much shield as a Phantasm with a medium shield extender, but you won't be in the more prolonged fights. You won't be able to hold up as long if they have webs and blah blah blah. So I like to use the small shield booster. So let's have a look at the stats on this ship. So my DPS cold is 314.43. my defenses are the EM resist 35, thermal resist 48, kinetic resistance 40, explosive 50%. You can swap out the heat sink for a C-type adaptive invulnerability field, which will raise your resistance up just that little bit more, and with that and a shield extender on top of that, you can really get quite tanky with this ship. But I don't play that way. If you do play that way, that is a viable option for you. No problem, no harm, no foul. The capacitor is stable at 50%. This gives you a little bit of extra leeway if you are getting neutered, if you are getting nosed. Now, if you're getting neutered or nosed by an Ashimu or a Crew, you're basically screwed. But that's why in this ship and most faction frigates, you have to actually pick your fights. You can't just fight everyone and anyone unless as soon as you run into someone that knows what they're doing, you can get screwed fighting certain ships like the Daredevil. The Dramiel can do some pretty damn good damage because you haven't got that web bonus on there, and they do go a lot faster than you. So they can get out of range, get into range, do DPS. They can hold you there if you don't have warp core optimizer rigs or you don't have an aura, which you should never fit on this ship. I will tell you that. So you're looking at the shield HP is 2000. As I said yesterday, I went up against 2 BCs. One had webs and they were disrupting me, and they had drones on me and everything. I killed the drones. Always kill the drones first when you're using this ship. If you go up against a drone ship, always warp disrupt the main ship. Don't pay attention to the main ship until after you killed the drones. At this moment in time, you cannot re-bring drones out, so you can just basically defang them so they can do no damage to you, and then you just take your time on the prophecies, for example. It doesn't take much for this ship to kill drones. You'll 99% of the time one hit unless you get a glancing blow, which is very rare on a 650 tracking. Make sure to use that Weber fire, and you'll pretty much just one-shot most Mark 7 drones. It is not an issue. So the navigation as standard is 587.88 meters a second, and it has a 1.49 inertia modifier. Basically, you're just going to be instant warping. You don't have to stick any inertia bonuses on here, or inertia rigs, or inertia lows to be able to get through gate camps, etc. So let's go outside of the station. So now we're outside of the station, we're going to pop some actual modules, and I'll show you what this chip does within its cooldowns of how hot and cold it is. So we'll go through with the actual heatsink on there, and we'll stick the afterburner on, and we'll go into this screen here. So you're looking at 407.28 DPS on a frigate. On a frigate, this is cruiser level DPS. Obviously, it's not the same as the Phantasm. The Phantasm does massive DPS. I love that ship, but I have a lot more fun in this Succubus. Now, if we look at the defenses, it's all the same. You don't get any changes because I'm just using a shield booster. This will be much higher if you're using the medium extender. And our speed is 2,711.47 meters a second. Now, what we're going to do now is actually just go into a anomaly real quick. We'll go into a medium 7. We'll warp into the medium 7. We'll warp in at 0. And we'll continue once we get there. Right, so what we have here right now is a Harbinger prototype. We'll get that Punisher Assault first. Let's get those guys in there. Let's get everything on. Get that Punisher Assault. We'll make sure we are orbiting. So you can see right now you're taking 0 damage. You're moving at stupid speeds. We'll get on top of that to Punisher. Hit that in there. Now you are moving just outside because we changed the orbit. But once you get used to doing this, we're just like auto-orbiting now. I normally manually go into an actual orbit during this thing. You can kill the Punisher quite quickly. We'll move on to the Destroyer straight afterwards. You're still not being hit. Now, this is viable in PvE. This is not an issue. You can do this and you can do it well. So you just be going in there. All these big ships can't even do any damage to you. It's not a problem. Start killing this guy over here. You can see you're still doing quite good DPS. You can get quite good clear runs. Now, after we finish with this Destroyer, which is obviously, as you can see, very quick, you're moving around at certain speeds. It goes between 1.6 and 2.3 meters a second as a standard orbit, which is quite nice. We'll move on to this guy afterwards once this guy's dead in one more hit. And then we'll move on to the Arbitrator. Now, because we are stable, we are completely cap stable, you can actually just go AFK while doing these. This is not an issue at all. You can see it's doing quite big damage, 600 when you're actually getting the glancing blows. You get a hit for 800 there on the shields. When you get to the armor itself, you do a little bit less DPS because of the EM and thermal damage that the lasers do. But as you can see, this is very viable. Now, we do have a newt on us, but because we have that 50% right now, we're actually going to be absolutely fine. Could orbit a little closer. Let's orbit in at 4 kilometers, see if we can get in a little closer in there and do some more damage, because we're only getting hits right now. So at 5%, we'll start getting some more hits. You're going in at 2, 3, hitting for 600. And this is on a cruiser. This happens in PvP as well. Like, unless they have like full tank fit, you can take out cruisers quite easily. Moving on to the Harbinger. Still doing some decent DPS. Still haven't been hit at all, even against the frigates and destroyers. It is very viable inside PvE as well as PvP, and you don't have to change the fit to jump between the two. It's not an issue. You're basically a mini drone doing the damage of a cruiser. It is absolutely insane, and I love this ship. And that's all we have for the video on the Succubus. I will be doing other videos on the Succubus to show you and showcase different fittings more in depth, with the extenders, with the large medium shield boosters, and with the large afterburners. We will go through that at another time. There are a million ways you can fit ships, and there are ways that you can fit ships to fit your play style that I couldn't fly, and there's ones that I could fit that you couldn't fly yourself. Don't ever expect fits on YouTube to work for everyone. It all depends on how you play. You need to find out yourself how to fit stuff. I'm just here to help you get a start on what you could do. The winner of the giveaway for 5,000 subs will be coming out tomorrow. We do have 2 names ready to go. I will be releasing that tomorrow, so please make sure you check that out to make sure to see if you win or not. Remember to like and sub if you haven't already. This is your one-stop shop for Eve Echoes. Fly safe.